until they just continue to keep scoring. So that final Patriots drive for the touchdown.
Yeah, I lost $1,000 in overtime.
Yeah, I was in first.
Oh, really?
Until the final Rex Burkhead touchdown in regulation.
By yourself or chopping?
Chopping with 3 at my line.
It's not bad.
Yeah, not at all. Real aggravating.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I finished 10th in the big DK one, but I was in like 4th going into overtime, but I was shopping with like 25 people.
We are live, I believe. There's the tweet. What's going on, everybody? That's the button I need to click. Is everybody excited for this lovely mixed up slate? I am, because I can play basically all day on every site in different tournaments and different groups, but we're kind of all over the place today. So welcome, Monday, January 21st. Adam and I are going to break down everything. Every game from start to finish. From Cavs Bulls, which is just fantastic, to all the way down to Lakers Warriors. So we're going to rip through that. And then myself, Fast Eddie Fear, are going to come on from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. leading up until the FanDuel lock. FanDuel running a big $1 million prize pool contest, along with the opportunity to win $1 million via a randomly generated fantasy cruncher lineup. So check that out. Make sure to get your randomness in. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. Adam, how was your weekend?
It was good. It went by pretty fast, but it was good. Football was fun to play for once and to watch. I think we both had good days yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
Good weekend. Football was weird yesterday. I found myself really hating the NFL. I don't get the sense that I'm in the minority, depending on where you live.
I'm way beyond that.
It's just, I don't know. It bothers me that stupid stuff can happen like that. Do you listen to Bill Simmons and Cousin Sal by any chance? There's no way you listened to this podcast in the last 12 hours. They recorded it last night.
No.
So you can buy like shares of people's bets, like prop tickets and stuff. So apparently someone had a 20-1 Saints to the Super Bowl, I believe, prop ticket for sale that would have paid like, let's just say $150,000. So Cousin Sal and I believe Clay Travis bought the ticket for like $50K. And like to lose that sort of bet on what I was live, like on what I would say is the worst call in the history of or worst non-call in the history of the NFL. Like, I'd want to kill someone.
Yeah, and that was just egregious. Like, it wasn't like everyone was bitching about the refs in the Patriots game, and those were at least debatable. Like, I personally thought they got both of the controversial reviews correct, but those were at least like debatable. The one in the Saints game, like, how do you possibly miss that? And then the fact that, you know, I understand you can't just like review every penalty, but at the same time, like the fact that there's nothing in place to be able to look and just say like, oh shit, we fucked that up. Like, that's a penalty in like 5 different ways is just insane.
Yeah, I tweeted about it. There should just be a ref in a booth that's just like, yo, you missed like the most obvious thing in the history of the world that is going to swing the outcome of this game 100%.
Right. Like, don't have them, you know, change every ticky-tack call to what he thinks it is. But when you have apparently just blind refs not seeing guys get tackled, like, as the ball's in the air, you have to have something in place to fix that. Especially
if you can have the referees immediately after the game be like, yep, they missed it, and it was helmet to helmet.
Right.
Like, it's not doing anybody any favors for that to just not immediately be fixed.
And to be fair, not that it was as egregious a miss, but everyone's, you know, talking about how that call blew the game. There was a pretty obvious face mask on Jared Goff on that drive, like inside the 5 as well, that would have given him the ball, you know, first and goal from the 3.
Yeah. I have less of an issue with that. Also very egregious. That sort of stuff that can be like easily not seen.
Right.
Doesn't bother me as much as just 2 guys in open field and 1 guy getting lit up before the ball gets there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the difference is the Goff one, when you saw one replay, it was like, oh, wow, like that was obvious. The Saints one, like watching the play, it was like, wait, that guy just got tackled. Like, how's there no flag?
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, oh, did the ball get tipped? I was like, no, this is just, this was the most, they ran that play perfectly. I can't imagine. It's got to be so unfulfilling. I mean, I guess it's not, but if I were a Rams fan, and there aren't a ton of them out there, judging on the videos I saw on Instagram of people reacting to the win with trepidation at best.
Well, I can't speak for LA, but I moved to St. Louis the year that they left, and obviously, like the fan base is going to be upset because they're leaving. But it was like the weirdest place I've ever been, as far as like just nobody cared about football.
Yeah, it's insanity. Baseball town.
Yeah.
Really that easy. Alrighty. Housekeeping stuff. We'll start with promo code NBA Strategy, 50% off your first monthly package with Osmo. NBA Strategy, one big word. So any monthly package you pick, including Fantasy Cruncher add-on packages, you'll get 50% off if you enter the code NBA Strategy. And as usual on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we are brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. If you go to bit.ly, and again, I'll type this in manually because I learned no lessons in life. Type bit.ly/Osmo. You can get $10 on your first $10 deposit, $20 on 100, $50 on 200. It is a new DFS site focused on player props. So you pick 10 player props for the slate out of a list of 20, and you're picking whether a player will go over or under a particular points total or rebounds total, assist total, combination of all of those things. At the end of the show, Adam and I will hop in and look at 5 of our favorites. So check that out. Oh my God. That roughing call was egregious, and y'all know it.
Oh, yeah, in the Patriots game?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. I had more of an issue with that than with any of the Hogan stands or Edelman didn't touch it like challenges.
Oh yeah, I look, it's fine. I thought he hit him in the face, but like I also don't think that should be like anything bad. I mean, it depends how much we want to call like the letter of the law.
Right. And that was another one. It's a perfect example of, on the replay, it was obviously a bad call, but at live speed, I can see, if hitting him in the face is a penalty, I can see thinking that was a penalty.
Yeah, like it brought his head down a little bit. So like to me, it's right, but it's just not. It's not right in like the way that it should be right.
Right.
I don't know. I can't take it anymore. The NFL is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I've been over the NFL for a couple of years, in part because I'm a Redskins fan, but also just from, you watch primetime games and, it's never anything, or normally it's not something as egregious as the end of the Rams-Saints game, but it's like every primetime game you watch, it's like, oh, this is a great game. Oh, that was a terrible call inside 2 minutes, and I feel like I just wasted the last 2 hours of my life.
Pretty much exactly. Uh-oh, what did I just do? Oh, there it is. I guess we should probably touch on how the slate looks today. So, FanDuel, for reasons that I'm not completely understanding, the one site that does not have late swap has an all-day slate and only a 3 p.m. slate as of right now. Yahoo has slates across the board. Their rake-free tournament is at 3. DraftKings has a 1 o'clock start, a 6 o'clock start, and then the night slate at 9. So if you want to play today, you can be all over the map.
And also DraftKings, of course, has no all-day slate because why use late swap?
Right. It makes no sense, but we're here to break it all down. So I think we need to treat every game like we're talking about it individually. It's really hard to balance talking about how these guys fit into individual slates because nothing will match up, and we will be here forever if we do that.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear anything about a particular slate, 2 to 3 o'clock, Fast Eddie Fear and I breaking down everything going into the FanDuel lock at 3. Otherwise, make sure you're paying attention to what you're entering.
Yeah. Lofty has the deep dive out too, so that should.
Yeah. And he's putting out a second afternoon deep dive as well. So we have a deep dive out for the early games. There will also be one for the late set. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's rock. The first game up, that's not true. The second game up, this isn't sorted by, why is 12:30 p.m. at the bottom here? Hold on. I just want this. It's going to be one of those things where it's going to bother me if this doesn't sort correctly. So let's do 12:30. Does that help? Because I don't like when things. There we go. Now we're talking. First game up, 12:30 p.m. Not a part of anything other than the FanDuel slate, or if you're playing in a one gamer on DK. So, New York Knicks hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder in a game that I would have loved to have a piece of because I really liked OKC, and yet now it doesn't matter. We'll probably go through this one pretty quickly since there's no real tide with the DK slate outside of showdown stuff. 108.5 implied total for the Knicks. 117.5 implied total for the Thunder. I'm all over the place today. It's not great. A big pace up spot for the Knicks. Do you like any of the Knicks?
I mean, you still just run into the issue of these guys are all a nightmare. Moutier is someone that I think you can always take a shot on in tournaments, but I can't even say not anything I would prioritize because it's a one-game slate. I like the Oklahoma City side better. Moutier, Hardaway, Knox, like the guys that we know are going to get minutes. Noah Vonleh's fine. Would be the guys that I'd look to from the Knicks.
Okay. Yeah, no one grading out all that well on FanDuel. There are no salaries for me to look at on DK. It's a really terrible spot for New York outside of the pace. And Cantor is back. Take your best guess on how many minutes he plays. Now Mitchell Robinson is also healthy. Take your best guess on how many minutes he plays. I have no idea who gets minutes for this team outside of I would expect Moutier to play 28 or more. I would expect Tim Hardaway to play 28 or more. And I would expect Kevin Knox to play 28 or more.
Right. Other
than that, I don't know. That'll feel more like the FanDuel randomized lineup coming from Fantasy Cruncher. I got nothing, and I can't recommend any Knicks. Russell Westbrook for 12.6 on FanDuel. If you're playing the all-day slate, I think looks fantastic in this spot. I don't mind the 12.6 price tag. Similarly, I'd happily pay 10.2 for Paul George. What do you like out of OKC?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the price tag on George still. Just being able to get him at such a discount off Westbrook. Westbrook obviously is the more dependable player, the better player, but I don't think there's a $2,400 gap between Westbrook and George, especially when you factor in the position that George plays. And then you have to roster two small forwards. So I still love Paul George here. Yeah. Steven Adams, I think it's a good spot. 7,800 on FanDuel is a pretty nice center price, just factoring in how they tend to price their centers. And it's a matchup where I think Adams should have plenty of success against whatever combination of Cornette and Cantor he faces. Jeremy Grant's fine, Schroeder's fine, but I think George and Adams would be the two guys that I like the most at their price points. Westbrook, obviously, if you can get there, is a great play as well.
Yeah, I really like George. He's been fantastic. He grades out as a better value on a dollar for dollar basis than Russ. The point guard position is a little different today, so I think Russ stands out a little bit there. But with the ability to play, or with the forced ability to play two small forwards on FanDuel, George would be my priority of the two. Oh, God. That game is just ugly. I wish I had more to say, but the Knicks are basically impossible to try to predict. And Oklahoma City's value is wrapped up in what amounts to 3.5 people. I don't know what to do with Schroeder right now. Like, that dude is all over the map in minutes, in production, in everything.
Play him when he's cheap. Don't play him when he's expensive. Play him when he's not popular, and don't play him when he is.
Yeah, that's a main tenet for basically everyone, but very much so on Dennis Schroeder.
It's more of a tenet for guys that are as volatile as he is.
Yes, agreed. All right, let's go to a game that actually is involved in both sites if you're actually playing today. Cleveland Cavaliers hosting the Chicago Bulls. 105.5 implied total for the Cavs. 107.5 for the Bulls. That's a testament to how bad the Cavs are.
So I have one question to start this off, and it's a weird one. Is Jaren Blossom game starting, or did I dream about Jaren Blossom game?
Is he starting
the game?
I don't know.
Because either I saw it on Twitter last night, or I have gone from Garrett Temple dreams to Jaren Blossom game dreams.
Man, you dream about the wrong shit. I don't have any idea.
All right, I'm going to assume that I just dreamt that and made that shit up.
I mean, I see no reason to think that it's like crazy. I don't know that I've seen that got announced.
Okay, yeah. Like I don't think I
No
had some
part
sort
of
of
that would surprise me though.
like, yeah, it wouldn't be shocking, but I don't think I had some sort of like epiphany. I think I either read it or dreamt it, and if it's not announced, I'm gonna go with I dreamt it.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Oh God.
I haven't got that boy.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is gonna be a slow one, that's for sure. No Tristan Thompson. We'll start with $4,700 on FanDuel, Ante Zizic. $5,700 on DraftKings, $17 on Yahoo. What do you do here? No Wendell Carter for the Bulls for the foreseeable future, which is a bummer. The only thing I really cared about on the Bulls.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I think it's still fine for Zizic. Still playing big minutes, and it is a Chicago team that struggles to rebound. The combination of Robin Lopez and Bobby Portis doesn't do anything to deter me. He's obviously not the virtual lock play that he was at 3,700 and even 4,600. You have like a real price tag on him, but he's still around a point per minute guy that should play 32 to 34 minutes. So I think he's still a good play.
Yeah, I agree. No issues using him there. He grades out as my sixth best center across the entire slate. Really hard to put context on there. 5,700 on DraftKings. You're not near that, right?
No, I like him on DraftKings.
Really?
Yeah, still a point per minute guy at 32 to 34 minutes.
I only have him in for 30 right now, so that might be my hesitation. I didn't mean to like totally dismiss him. He still ranks 6th for centers on DraftKings as well. It's just more of a very much less appealing price tag than 4,700.
Yeah, no question there.
You think it'll be popular? Do we have ownership yet? What would I even paste that in for?
My guess is yes, because it's a 5-game slate and he's been rewarding people as chalk. The one reason why maybe not is that we have Zaza for 1,600 less.
Yeah. What a slate, man. After that, do you want any single bull?
Not as a priority. I mean, I can probably guarantee that, which is a phrase that makes no sense, but I mean, you have 40 on looking at DraftKings pricing, like you have $4,400 Burks, $4,700 Sexton, $5,200 Clarkson. I would assume I get them in some tournament lineups, but they're not going to be tournament lineups that I look at like, oh, good, I got these guys.
Sure. Yeah, I have a hard time justifying anything here. Burks for 4,400 on DK is probably the best of all of the sites, but
yeah, I mean, Campaign started last game too. He's 3,400.
He played 20 Blossom game is starting. Fire him up, I guess.
Yes, I mean, Payne, whatever. It's a $3,400 value play. He played 20 minutes in 3 quarters. He sucks, but there's nothing to say that he doesn't pick up 4th quarter run today and play like 26 minutes.
This game could go in so many different directions. It can be a fantasy like boon, or it could be like 88-82.
It's one of those games where I think that there's a really good chance there's like one good play from each team.
Yeah.
But, or like, I mean, at least one. Like, I'm not saying limited to one. I'm saying, like, I think at their prices, there's at least one good play. It's just a matter of kind of covering all your bases, because if someone tells you that they know who it's going to be, they're lying to you.
There we go. There's a lot more to like on Chicago. We'll start with Levine, 6,700 on FanDuel, 7K on DK, and $24 on Yahoo. I don't have a problem whatsoever with having Levine on any one of the sites.
No, I don't either. Obviously, a good matchup. Cleveland just so bad defensively. Levine, not as productive as he was earlier in the year. You have Chris Dunn handling the ball more. You have Lauri Markkanen really stepping out and being more of a force offensively. So it's turned Levine into a very scoring dependent player who also is seeing fewer minutes than he was earlier in the year. But that being said, the price tag obviously accounts for that, and it is a very nice matchup against Cleveland.
Yeah. Markkanen, not a guy that I'd be prioritizing heavily here. 6,900 on FanDuel and DraftKings, 24 on Yahoo. If I'm picking between those two, I would just rather have Levine than Markkanen.
Yeah, I think it's really close for me. I mean, Markkanen's just been so good, but again, that's also recency bias. So
has he? Last
Yeah.
30 days, Levine 0.93 fantasy points per minute, Markkanen 0.94.
I meant like a lot more recent than that. Like,
Oh. Okay.
last few games, Markkanen's just played out of his mind.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I would prefer Levine. I don't really like anything here outside of this one's obvious. Bobby Portis, 5,200 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DraftKings, $20 on Yahoo. 5,200 for Bobby Portis is just crazy.
Yeah, whether he's starting or not.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Right. Like the last game, Lopez started and Portis closed, so we got like 24 and a half minutes. I think that's what we would expect if he comes off the bench again. But if he comes off the bench, you just get lower ownership as well. If he starts, then he probably gets 26 to 28 minutes, but it comes with more ownership. So it's kind of a trade-off.
Free Zanman in YouTube chat says Portis is chalk ? He's only available on the all-day slate of FanDuel, so I don't know. I mean, he should be in that he plays at 1 o'clock, and you could be reasonably confident that he plays. And taking people on FanDuel in like the Jazz Blazers game is a really difficult proposition. So yeah, but Bobby Portis is not available on FanDuel in a slate that matters. If you're playing the all-day slate, heck, kudos. I can't even begin to recommend shit on that, man. Without the ability, like, it's just impossible. But yeah, you should play Bobby Portis if you're playing the all-day slate. Don't really care all that much about his ownership on that all-day slate. Just play guys that you think will play. That's really the only thing that you can do. I like him for $20 on Yahoo as well. Do you want any other part of the Bulls? $21 Chris Dunn on Yahoo seems a little bit underpriced, but otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll probably go back to the Chris Dunn death trap on DraftKings at 6,100 too. He's playing awful, but the minutes are there. The talent is there. It's the Cavs. He's not going to be bad forever. As long as he keeps getting 32 to 34 minutes, I'll keep taking my chances on a low-owned Chris Dunn.
Lots of questions about whether Chandler Hutchison is a viable punt on Yahoo for $10. He's not to me.
Chandler Hutchison's not a viable punt to me outside of FanDuel, and even there, it's questionable because it's just ugly to look at.
Yeah, Chandler Hutchison is ranked 24th at the position for the entire slate today.
On my show Saturday with EMAC, I tried to put Chandler Hutchison in the context. I looked at his point per minute production this year. Dorian Finney-Smith has produced at a 13% higher clip per minute than Chandler Hutchison this season.
There you go. Yeah. Here's something that people are probably missing on Yahoo. With this gigantic mass of guys at $10 or 11, 12, 13, whatever, you do not need to play anyone that's a 0.6 per minute guy, especially on a day like today. That's a bigger slate. But on a generally normal slate, we'll say 6, 7, 8 games, you're doing yourself a disservice by getting those sort of guys. There's way more points to be found at that range where you don't have to just jam in that minimum salary guy. More often than not, from what I've seen on these Yahoo slates, there's maybe 1 or 2 really relevant $10 guys that you should be prioritizing, and then keeping a close eye on like the 11, 12, 13, 14 range. They're all essentially the same thing. So don't go too crazy on the $10 guys just because you see it. You need a lot more out of them than you think you do.
Yeah, agreed.
That's all. Let's head to the 2 o'clock games now. I feel like we're talking about baseball. The Brewers against somebody. Not a Dallas.
Yeah, I can't wait for baseball.
I'm excited for baseball in that it's just a very different mental process. I don't have to stress about lineup or like construction or, well, not construction. Like, I don't have to stress about guys being ruled out. It's just kind of, I can do what I need to do, and it sort of exists until the lineup comes out, and then I don't have to pay attention to it again.
Yeah. It's also just my favorite sport. It's not my favorite DFS sport, but I just enjoy baseball.
Me too. I just enjoy it because there's nothing else going on, and it's a really easy stretch of time for me on the back end of this website.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Bucks and Mavs, 118 implied total for the Bucks, 106.5 for the Mavs. Still no Dennis Smith for Dallas. He will be back tomorrow, and I guess he and Rick Carlisle had a bit of a powwow and hugged it out, and things are better. I still don't assume that he'll be on the Mavs next year, but we'll see. Milwaukee. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 11-5 on FanDuel, 10-8 on DraftKings, and $55 on Yahoo. Across all of the slates, I like Giannis quite a bit. What are you thinking here?
I do too, especially, obviously if you look at the 5-gamer on DraftKings, there's no Harden, there's no Westbrook, there's no Anthony Davis. So finally we get a slate where Giannis, stands out. So, you're talking a guy that's averaging, 1.6 to 1.7 fantasy points per minute. And when you take Davis and Harden off the slate, that's actually good. So the price tag is affordable. In competitive games, he's still seeing 35, 36 minutes. Milwaukee doesn't play a ton of competitive games. They're a really good team. So there's obviously that risk, but it also comes with the caveat that when Milwaukee blows teams out, normally you're getting 50 plus from Giannis anyway. So, I think Giannis is a really good play.
There we go. Yeah, he number 1 for me on FanDuel, 2 on DK, 3 on Yahoo. Just like him across the board. Then we get into the weirdness. The Middleton, Bledsoe, Brogdon trio. Middleton is $6,800 on FanDuel, $6,400 on DraftKings, and $26 on Yahoo. I don't really love Middleton all that much on FanDuel. He grades out really well on DK across this entire slate. I assume he has shooting guard, small forward eligibility.
Middleton has shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Yeah,
and that is why he grades out as well as he does for me.
Yep.
I would like using Middleton here. I don't particularly love it, but he is able to be fit in so many different spots that he becomes a major priority to me.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it before, but the opportunity is there for him. The minutes are there. The role in the offense is there. If he's not making his shots, he's obviously going to disappoint. But when you get him at price tags this low, it's just, it's more likely that he gives you like a mediocre game but doesn't kill you than it is that he actually kills you. And then he has, the monster ceiling to go at this price tag.
What about Bledsoe? 7,700 on FanDuel, only 68 on DK, 27 on Yahoo. Seems more palatable to go to Middleton over Bledsoe just because of the flexibility.
Right. The DraftKings price is obviously more appealing than the FanDuel one. But when you compare him to the other guys on Milwaukee, I'd rather get Giannis at 10-8 for one. But then looking at the mid-range guys, you have Middleton at 64, you have Brogdon at 55. I think all those guys are pretty similar to Bledsoe in that they have upside at their prices and they're unlikely to kill you at their prices. So why not just take the cheaper ones?
I'm with you. And then Brogdon, 5,500 on DK. I'm in 5,900 on FanDuel. I'm not in. What is his eligibility? Point guard, shooting guard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He's fine, I guess. I don't really have anything else for Milwaukee.
Me neither.
Dallas side, our boy Luka, 8,900 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings, and $38 on Yahoo. I assume you love Luka Doncic at 7,900 on DraftKings.
Yeah, always love Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Especially, Dennis Smith Jr. out, you get more assist opportunities for Luka in addition to him just, taking over this offense offensively. So hopefully doesn't pick up 2 techs and get ejected from this game. But he's someone who, if this game does stay competitive, it's very likely that he has a large part to do with that.
That price tag is fantastic. 8,900 is a bit of a tough sell for me on FanDuel, but still grades out solidly. It's creeping up, but 1.3 fantasy points per minute over his last 30. Dude's legit. Does he make it'd be fun if he started the All-Star game.
Yeah, it would. I'm just really happy with myself for getting on board with him as early as I did. I mentioned at the beginning of the season that my 2 biggest biases in NBA DFS are white guys and slow guys. And I was like, Luka's going to cost me so much freaking money this year because I'm just going to refuse to buy in. But really glad that hasn't happened.
Yeah, he's been. Oh my God, he's incredible. I pray that no injury bugs hit him because watching him over the next 15 years is going to be real fun.
Yeah, no question.
When he gets himself into physically good shape, when he understands what a diet is and stuff.
Yeah, when he's not 19 years old.
Yeah, that too. That too. Because he is mentally now. Did you see him get the gate over the weekend?
I didn't see it, but I know it happened.
Yeah, It's not as egregious as it seems. It almost looked like he was trying to like kick it up to himself, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't know what he did. I just saw the tweet. Like,
no, like he didn't. It wasn't like he freaked out and like there was a bad call and he just gave it the old punt. Like Iguodala got tossed a week ago or so for like throwing it into the stands,
right,
angrily. Luka was just like laughing.
So what? He just kicked the ball.
Yeah. It looked like, it bounced in front of him, and it looked like he tried to like kick it highly up to himself. That's the way that I saw it. And he just didn't kick it well.
Right.
Do you want anything else from the Mavs? Because like I don't really care that much about DeAndre Jordan or Maxey or Jalen Brunson. And Harrison Barnes' price continues to tumble, but I guess with good reason. He's a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy.
Yeah, I mean, whatever I get, I'm fine with. Like Barnes probably leads the team in minutes today. He probably he has the opportunity for defensive stats. I assume he's going to see plenty of Giannis. I don't anticipate them having Maxey defend him all that much. So the opportunity's there for Barnes, but it's still Harrison Barnes.
Okay. I just want to get done these damn early games so we can talk with some context. The Washington Wizards hosting the Detroit Pistons, 111.5 implied total for the Wiz, 108 for the Pistons. I assume we don't see Andre Drummond. I don't think that I've seen that officially, but
he's out.
It's official.
Yeah.
Well, I have him out regardless, but I didn't think he was going to play. But I didn't know if that was totally true. We'll start
at least according to the blurb on DraftKings that says Andre Drummond will not play on Monday.
That'll work for me. We'll start on the Wizards side. Bradley Beal is 10-4 on FanDuel, 9,400 on DraftKings, and $42 on Yahoo. I'm in for whatever sort of Bradley Beal amount I can get here.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bradley Beal. When the hell was the last time they played? I can't even find they're there. Yeah, so very well rested Bradley Beal after that London trip. Yeah, I mean, he's still playing monster minutes. He played 40 in the London game. He just doesn't really come off the floor. He's obviously the highest usage guy on the team. He's running the offense. Detroit's not bad defensively. It's not a particularly appealing pace either, but Beal's really, really good, so I like it.
I'm with you. He grades out number 1 for me on DK, 2 on FanDuel, 2 on Yahoo. I would have no problems having a ton. There's no defense in the backcourt for the Pistons, and Bradley Beal is going to be out there basically until he dies. Otto Porter, minutes are creeping up even more now. I got him at 35 for today. He's 7,500 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DraftKings, and $22 on Yahoo. He looks great on DK, looks great on Yahoo, and I'm totally fine on FanDuel, but $7,500 does scare me a bit. What do you want to do with Otto Porter?
Yeah, I mean, the minutes are kicking up, and I still love the role that he's in because he's kind of doing everything. Like, he's coming off the bench, so while Beal only sits on the bench for 8 to 10 minutes a game, Porter's out there for all of those minutes, essentially playing point guard. And then the Wizards are also playing small for stretches where you're having Porter basically play center. So you kind of are turning Otto Porter into a point center at different points in the game. But we know that those are two positions that just give you a greater opportunity to accrue fantasy points. So along with the increasing minutes, you're just getting Porter playing a much different role than he's ever really played for the Wizards. So it makes it really appealing in that regard as well.
Trevor Ariza I can basically do without, although he's priced well and plays a ton of minutes, but I can't imagine him being a priority. How do you want to hash out the center rotation here? Not having Drummond probably, you would think, changes this equation a little bit. Pistons will be soaking up a ton of center time with Zaza, I would imagine. How do you see it shaking out for, let's say, the trio of Thomas Bryant, Jeff Green, and Jan Mahinmi?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because on one hand, I think it's a game where Bryant could play quite a bit because Zaza is just not the type of offensive guy that Bryant should have trouble defending. And he's a big enough center where they should probably want Bryant out there. If you look again in the last game, though, it's not like the Knicks had a great offensive center out there either, and Bryant barely played. Granted, Luke Cornett's not really a traditional type center, so I can see the tendency to go smaller. In tournaments, especially, where you're talking in the 5-gamer on DraftKings and you have an appealing price tag on Bryant and you have him as a power forward, I think that taking a chance on him, obviously not someone that you want your day to rest on, but being overweight on a $5,600 Thomas Bryant, knowing that this is certainly the type of matchup where he can get 30 minutes because Zaza's not going to play him off the court. Zaza's going to play enough minutes where they, probably want him out there. And Zaza's not a good enough offensive player that they need Jan Mahinmi instead. I think that when you factor in how good Thomas Bryant is from a fantasy standpoint on a per minute basis, he's certainly the kind of guy that can be a very, very valuable play for you if he gets the minutes.
So what do you think he plays? I have him in for 24 right now.
I'm going to project him for 28.
I think that's reasonable. I have Brian at 24, Jeff Green at 32, and Jan Mahinmi at 8.
Yeah, I'm pulling up Fantasy Cruncher now just to try and gauge what the upper end of his minutes range has been lately, because I think this is the kind of spot where he can play towards that upper end. We know that.
You want Bryant's numbers?
Yeah.
I have him here. Most recent games, 16, 34, 24, 14, 18, 21, 23, 39, 36, 30. Now we're back into December.
Right. And the 34 was in that double overtime game against Toronto.
Yeah.
Where I don't remember how much he played in overtime.
Had to be a lot, because if he played 34 in regulation, that'd be super weird.
Right. Yeah. He played 10 minutes of overtime, so he played 24 minutes there. Yeah, so 24 is a really, really reasonable projection for him.
Okay. Definitely a spot where he could soak up a couple extra.
Right.
Just because.
Right. Yeah. That's the point. He's been really vulnerable this year is against pick and roll centers and just good offensive centers. And Zaza is basically a guy that's going to just be there grabbing rebounds and dishing out assists. Thomas Bryant shouldn't be exposed by Zaza.
Do you see any scenario where Jan Mahinmi gets enough minutes to be reasonably good today?
I don't think so, because for one, like I just said, it's not a spot where Bryant's a defensive liability, but also you have the backup centers for Detroit being some combination of John Lure, Blake Griffin, guys that Jan Mahinmi has no business on the floor against.
Okay, I'm same page as you then. So how do you think they manage Jeff Green? Because this seems like a spot where Jeff Green should play a ton of minutes, whether that's guarding Zaza or John Lure or whatever at the 5 to just simply guarding Blake Griffin.
Yeah, I think it is too. The concern would be that Jeff Green didn't play at all in the fourth quarter against the Knicks. But I'm willing to treat that as an anomaly, because he's actually been one of the better players on the Wizards this year from just a consistency and production standpoint. So yeah, I think it's a spot where Green can get into the 30s and probably has a pretty nice game.
I agree with you. I have him at 32. I would have been pretty comfortable going to a number higher than that if his recent history was pointing me in that direction. It strikes me as the type of game where Jeff Green would play 36 minutes.
Right. Yeah. You have the backup center rotation for Detroit favors John Green or Jeff Green. I don't know who John Green is. Jeff Green for sure.
I was like, I can't even think of somebody in a different sport.
Yeah. No, I have absolutely no idea.
Okay. Anybody else standing out for you from the Wiz?
Can we just not talk about Satoransky, because I don't want that triple-double to happen again?
Yeah, whatever we say, just do the opposite.
Right. Yeah, no, there's nothing else that stands out.
Alrighty, we'll go to the Pistons. No Andre Drummond. This is a pace-up spot for Detroit. We'll start with Blake. 9,900 on FanDuel, 9,600 on DraftKings, $45 on Yahoo. If you don't like Blake Griffin here, I don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah. He's got to be one of the top plays on the slate.
Yeah.
On any site. He played 38 minutes against the Kings. He picked up his fourth foul in the third quarter, so he actually dealt with a little bit of foul trouble. It didn't necessarily affect anything, but you should get around 38 minutes here against a Washington team that, while they've been a bit better defensively, they're still not very good. They don't rebound well. They play faster than the Pistons. And then, obviously the big thing for Blake is that Drummond not being in leads to more rebounds for him, when the biggest complaint about him from a fantasy standpoint this year is that, the usage is there, the assists are there, but the rebounds really haven't been. You see his rebounding percentage tick up to about 16% when Drummond's not on the floor, compared to about 11% when he is. He goes from averaging 1.18 fantasy points per minute to about 1.4, and that's an average. That's not factoring in the phenomenal spot that he's in. So yeah, absolutely love Blake here.
Responding to chat. about a Fantasy Cruncher trial. Blake, not that chalky on the early slate ownership. It's more Zaza. So let's talk about that. 3,600 on FanDuel, 41 on DK, $12 on Yahoo. I get the appeal of a chalk Zaza today, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a really good spot. It's a nice price tag. It's tough for him to disappoint here, especially because, at least so far, we're seeing him get the minutes. He played in the game that Drummond got hurt. He played minutes like a normal starter would. In the game against the Kings, we got 35 minutes out of him, and that was on at second half of a back-to-back. If I had to make one argument against Zaza, it would be that the Kings, the game that he started, prior, the Kings are a team that plays big, and it was just the ideal matchup for him. The Wizards are a team where, from a matchup standpoint, you certainly could see, John Lord play more minutes at center. But I don't want to, for one, I don't think that's necessarily a thing that definitely happens. And for two, Zaza's price is still cheap enough where you're talking about a point per minute guy because he rebounds well and he passes well. If he were to play 26 minutes, he still comes in as a good play. If he plays 35, then he's just, an absolute top play.
Yeah. He's projected for 66% ownership on the early slate for DK. I would not want that.
It sucks. Yeah. So the thing there, like, it's when you get someone like Zaza at that kind of ownership, I'd be very, very, very surprised if he disappoints on a point per dollar basis.
Yeah.
As far as if, like, he probably doesn't score less than like 5 or 6x here.
Yeah.
But there's I'm not saying that he can't have a big game, like go out there and put up, a 12-12 double-double or something, and you wish you had him. But there's at least a chance, and we saw it last game against Sacramento, where he finishes the game with like 27, 28 fantasy points, and that's really good for his price tag. But in terms of raw points, you can make that up other spots. So, like, I'll still have a lot of him. 66% is really high.
Yeah. Plug him in cash.
Yeah, no question there.
Don't even bat an eye at that. For a GPP at that ownership, that feels too high.
I still, and I haven't made my lineups yet, so I don't even want to say that I'm going to be underweight on him because I do really, really like him a lot at that price tag.
Yeah.
But there's at least an argument if he's going to be 66% for being underweight.
Agreed. Yeah, it's not a 66 or 0 to me, but it's like, I think 40 is probably like a more likely scenario for me if he's at 66.
That's what I'm guessing I end up at as well. That's kind of what I did with him even last slate, where he was obviously a really good play, but we had him projected for like 70% ownership or something. And once I looked at it, it was clearly a top play, but once I factored in ownership and did everything else that I go through in making lineups, he came into about, at like 2/3 of the field for me.
Yep. Same page. You want any other part of the Pistons?
Yeah. So, I mean, Reggie Jackson's $4,900. I think that's an appealing price tag. Obviously, we know the issues that come with Reggie Jackson, but the minutes are kind of all over the place. But even if you get 28 to 30 here, he should be fine. And then Luke Kennard is still an interesting value play. I'm kind of torn between like recency bias and what I actually think, because like he's playing really well. He has taken steps. He's taken strides. Dwayne Casey's talked about him being better, doing more what the Pistons need recently as opposed to earlier in the season. So he's getting more minutes, but at the same time, like last game, he had a really good game as chalk. He only played 23 minutes. He just shot like 7 for 12 from the field. That's not the kind of stuff that I like playing at reasonably high ownership, but it's still a nice matchup for him. He's still sub 4K, and I do think he still has an increased role on this team.
Yeah, he has a really nice usage boost with Andre Drummond off the floor. He seems to benefit from that a lot. He's been really productive on a fantasy point per minute basis as well when Drummond is not on. So I don't mind using him as a $3,900 punt.
He's just someone that I'm sure I'll end up paying close attention to his projected ownership.
Yeah. Probably it out of the Pistons, right?
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Bullock plays 34 minutes. He's going to get plenty of open looks. He's most likely going to score like 15 first quarter points, and you'll be really excited if you rostered him, really bummed if you didn't, and then he'll finish the game with 23, and you won't care.
Yep. Sounds about right to me. Any chance that John Lure becomes the value play you wanted out of this team?
Chance? Yeah, absolutely, at 3,100. So it's obviously risky. Like, don't go there and cash games. There's no reason to. He played 12 and a half minutes against the Kings. But as we talked about, like, the Kings are not a matchup where John Lure is particularly appealing. They're playing Cauley Stein. They're playing big. The Wizards, there's certainly a world where this game just like devolves into Jeff Green versus John Lure at center.
Good God.
What?
I don't know how much I like the world where a game is Jeff Green versus John Lure at center.
Yeah.
It seems like a relatively unappealing sport to watch.
Yeah. I think that separating your Zaza from your John Lure is a pretty logical rule to have.
Yeah. That's what I always say.
And also separating your John Lure from your Thomas Bryant.
Alrighty. Here's what we're doing now. We're moving into the 3 o'clock slate, which means that I'm at least going to pull up the FanDuel ownership for the main slate, because this is, I guess, the most important slate of the day. I don't know. It is what it is. DraftKings, I don't understand where your head's at here, but good luck. The Atlanta Hawks kicking off the 3 o'clock slate, hosting the Orlando Magic. Hawks 109.25 implied total. Magic 110.25. Magic 1-point favorites in Atlanta. It's a pace down spot for Atlanta, and just about everybody is healthy for this team at this point, outside of Kent Bazemore. So we'll start with John Collins, I guess. 8,300 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DraftKings, $29 on Yahoo. I don't have anything that stands out as like nice in terms of Collins. He just is.
Yeah, I like 7,600 on DraftKings. I mean, he was in foul trouble last game, played 28 and a half minutes, but in competitive games where he hasn't been in foul trouble, we're seeing 33 to 34 minutes. And he's obviously very, very good in terms of rebounding and, as an offensive player. So he stands out to me on DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah, he's 9th for me at the position, which is fine. No issue or anything. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, I mean, he's no Blake. Like, prioritize Blake over John Collins.
Yeah. The only guy that it really stands out would be Trae Young, 6,500 on DK, $23 on Yahoo. Playing increased minutes right now. I have him at 32 for today. I think he grades out really well for 6,500 or for 23. 7,300 on FanDuel. I could take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm lower on him than I am on Collins. I think they get similar minutes. I just think Collins is productive enough to make up for that difference in price tag.
Where do I have Collins in terms of FanDuel? So FanDuel, after running my sim, he would be my 6th priority at power forward. And then Trae Young at point guard would be 6th as well. Look at that. So the chalk coming in here today, off of the Hawks, would be Torian Prince. 4,100 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DK, $16 on Yahoo. How would you manage a $4,100 Torian Prince today?
Really like it on FanDuel. Obviously, if he's disappointing, it's a low enough price that you're not dead if you drop him. But he has all kinds of upside there. They said he had no minutes cap last game. He played 23 and a half minutes. If you can get that up to 26 or 27 here, then you're in really good shape. But even if he plays 24 again, you're not in bad shape at that price tag. I have a much more difficult time getting to 5,200 on DraftKings when, realistically, when you kind of just think about it, you have Harrison Barnes, for example, at that same price point, playing, probably 10 to 12 minutes more. But, at FanDuel, on FanDuel at 4,100, I really like it.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think 23% is probably more than I would want, but you also get the idea. Like, he's not at that price tag. You're not super worried about it. You can increase ownership on guys like that. I just think there's probably a couple guys in that range where I would be fine to go to that are going to be not owned whatsoever.
Right.
Other than that, I don't really like a ton coming out of Atlanta.
I like the price tag on Dedmon on DraftKings. The minutes obviously are all over the place. He played around 24 last game in his first game back. Could play more than that here. Could play the same. Who knows? But like, he's cheaper than Torian Prince is on DraftKings, and he has power forward eligibility, so you don't have to use your center spot. He obviously is a good fantasy, like a good point per minute producer. And if you get the upper end of his minutes range, I think it's a nice spot for him.
Someone in chat just said Prince had his minutes cap removed. Is that legitimate?
Yeah. Yeah, they said before last game.
What do you expect him to play then? Because if he doesn't have a minutes cap, the answer really is like 32 for this team.
He didn't have a minutes cap last game.
And didn't play a lot.
Right, yeah. So he had played like 13 and 14 minutes in his first couple of games, and then they removed the minutes cap. He played 23 and a half. So, like, he could play more, but it's the Hawks. They have a million bodies that play that position. I don't know that they take a bunch of minutes from Bembry. I don't know that they start taking a ton of minutes away from Herter to fit Prince back in. So, I think he could still very easily play like 26, 27 minutes.
Okay. So I have him in for 24. You'll probably go in higher than that?
I'm probably going to like 26.
Who takes the haircut for you? Like Spellman?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it just gets to where if you start projecting Prince for like starter minutes like he was getting, then you start having to take minutes from like Bembry and Herter, who, maybe they take the minutes from Bembry, but they didn't really show that indication last game.
Yeah.
Herter, I don't think they take the minutes from.
All right. Yeah, it's tricky for me.
It's just another body for the Hawks to use that is probably going to be very, very, vary a lot from game to game.
True. Tricky. Magic now. Great spot. Massive pace up spot for Orlando. Their rotations have been like pretty steady when everyone's healthy. Problem is Aaron Gordon's questionable. As of right now, I have him in. So we'll start with Vooch. 9,400 on FanDuel, 9,500 on DraftKings, $41 on Yahoo. Yes, please. Lots of Vooch.
Yeah. Yeah, really like Vooch. The only argument against Vooch is that there is value at the center position today.
Yes, there is.
But beyond that, I mean, it's really similar to the last slate that he played, where you had Zizic, you had Zaza as value, but then you also could just choose to take the guy that can score 50 fantasy points, and pay up for Vooch. And having value at the position does drive Vooch's ownership down, which is really nice in tournaments. So not a guy that I would be looking to necessarily in cash games, because you can find the value at the position. But when you're just trying to get raw points to win a tournament and be different from the field, he allows you to accomplish both of those things.
Yeah, he is 9,400 on FanDuel, and we're projecting 10% ownership. I would rather have double that number. I just feel more comfortable with Vooch in this spot than I do. Like, I would rather have Vooch than Zaza at 3,600 on FanDuel. It's just, There's too much upside for Vooch here.
Yep. Yeah, I think Zaza is the cash play. I think getting the Vooch in tournaments is a nice way to go.
Yep. And for $41 on Yahoo, he might be my favorite play across the entire Yahoo slate.
Yeah, really good play.
How do you want to handle Aaron Gordon? $7K on FanDuel, $67 on DK, $26 on Yahoo. If he's in and I have him for 35 minutes, he is my number 2 power forward.
If he's in, I think he's a good play. I mean, it's just Atlanta's another one of those teams that they play exactly how you would like a team to play against Aaron Gordon. Like, they play fast, they make mistakes. They've actually been a good rebounding team. That's the one spot where it's not great, but it's just the spot where Aaron Gordon can go out and use his athleticism, pick up some defensive stats. So I think that he's a good play. I would still have him like behind Vooch. I still would rather have like John Collins and Blake, but I think that it's a good spot for Gordon.
Yeah. Same page. Yeah, I will have a lot of Aaron Gordon. I just like having guys against Atlanta. There's just so many possessions to go around, and if you can bet on guys that are getting minutes, and by all accounts, Aaron Gordon's going to play 32 plus easy minutes if he's playing. I'm in.
And actually, I take it back. I bumped his minutes up a little bit. So now I have him ahead of Collins. I have him behind Blake still.
Okay. Yeah, he's only behind Blake for me by a country mile on FanDuel.
As is basically everyone.
Yeah. So I have Blake basically like 15% better than Aaron Gordon. Craziness. Never Google. 6K on FanDuel, $5,700 on DraftKings, $21 on Yahoo. continuing to play big minutes, down slightly in this most recent game. But how do we manage this dude if he's going to be playing like 32 plus on a night-to-night basis?
I kind of think you just play him. It's not fun, but the price tag's still nice enough that I expect I'll get a pretty nice amount of Evan Fournier here.
Yeah. Price is now up significantly on Yahoo. A couple nights ago, he was just $13 and just massive chalk. 21 to probably keep people off the scent a little bit, but it's still a great spot for him. Do you want to go to any of the rest of these guys? Terrence Ross, John Isaac, DJ Augustine.
4,200 Isaac's still fine. Just pay attention to the ownership. Like, he's just not the kind of guy that you really want to be playing a lot of as chalk in tournaments because he just doesn't have the offensive game to really hurt you. He's a guy that generally will give you a good, if he's going to play 30 plus minutes against the Hawks, he probably will give you a good point per dollar score, but he's very, very unlikely to be the guy that at high ownership you have to have in tournaments.
What in the world did I paste in here that is giving me Blake? Did I not take that game out? Because that's really annoying. Nope. I missed it like a butthole. Fantastic. Well, let's redo that. Yeah, that's probably it for me from the Orlando side. And now that I don't have Blake involved and I was talking about him like he was, I think that Aaron Gordon's probably my number one power forward, which is terrifying. Blake is not in the main slate for FanDuel.
Oh. Right.
Yeah. I did the exact same thing. I was adding that game in for, that's why I'm a butthole. So, yeah, I mean, Aaron Gordon against the Hawks on this slate, we should, since that is the first game, like, we will know about Aaron Gordon before that game tips off. So you don't have to be terribly scared about the questionable tag, in my opinion, outside of the fact that he can re-injure himself, clearly. But yeah, I'm going to have a lot of Aaron Gordon. I hope that questionable tag sticks around until 255.
Yeah.
Okay. Move on to the Brooklyn Nets hosting the Sacramento Kings. 3:30 p.m. start. 116.5 implied total for the Nets. 113.5 for the Kings. This is a really nice fantasy game. Should be played pretty quickly. D'Angelo Russell is $7,900 on FanDuel, $8,300 on DraftKings, and $31 on Yahoo. Big time fan of Russell on both FanDuel and Yahoo. Less of a fan on DK, but he is still very much in play.
Yeah, I still like Russell. I agree the pricing obviously is more appealing on the other sites, but he's just one of those guys where the ceiling is almost always going to be higher than his price point because sites just aren't going to price him high enough for a guy that scores, 60 or that can score 55 to 60 fantasy points because he has enough duds mixed in there where his price tag's just never going to get that high. And so it just always makes him a good tournament play, especially on days where he is lower owned. Not sure that'll be the case today with him coming off of a monster game, but he's just kind of the perfect guy to be overweight on, especially when he's coming off of a bad game because he always has that kind of upside. And it's a really nice spot for him here against Sacramento, though.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He can certainly go out there and crush you, but you could also get a game like, what was it, a couple nights ago where he just went absolutely bananas and, probably carried you to something if you had him in your lineup.
Yep.
Looking at the rest of this Nets team, what do you make of Jarrett Allen's minutes?
I have no idea. I was just looking at that.
I'm going to project 27 today, and it was just like, shrug.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to project him for 28, somewhere between 28 and 30. So he basically that's not even true. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Because the game against Orlando, it would have made sense for him to play more minutes and basically match Vooch, but they didn't do that. And you could make a similar argument today where he probably plays the same minutes as Cauley Stein, but Cauley Stein's only going to play 28. So I don't know. I'm going to put Jarrett Allen at 28. It's a great spot for him. It's a really good tournament play. It's a price tag that's high enough where I don't think you need to get there in cash games.
4% expected ownership on FanDuel right now. I agree with it because of the amount of appealing dudes to play today at center, but this could make you feel a lot like that Houston game. Obviously, he's not going 20 and 20 or whatever, but for 6,200 on DraftKings, he's a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. Like, if he gets those minutes, you're gonna wish you had Jared Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I love the spot. Like the Kings, while they are doing some things better, they've stepped it up defensively. They're playing a little bit slower. Not that that's better, but just saying like less appealing from a fantasy standpoint. They still cannot rebound and do not rebound, and they are still a big team. So you would think maybe Allen plays more minutes, but I just don't think that there's much. I don't think that there's much that we can predict from this rotation. I think it's just a lot more of Kenny Atkinson just being like, oh, I like this lineup right now. Like, at the moment, this is what I want to do. So it's really tough to predict, but I do want to err on the side of having too much Jared Allen as opposed to not enough. That's a mistake that I made against Houston, where it was like, I know I'm projecting him to where I'm not really going to get him, and I know he could go nuts here. I don't really want to make that mistake again in the spot because it is a spot where he can just absolutely break a slate, I think.
Agreed. Dinwiddie? He's just kind of there for me.
Yeah, I mean, I still like the price tag. I like the matchup. There's an even bigger gap now, at least on DraftKings, between him and Russell in terms of price. It's the same thing that we say pretty much every day about Dinwiddie. Like, the role is there. He's going to get 27, 28 minutes. If his shot is falling and he's playing well, maybe he gets a little bit more. He's extremely volatile, but the price tag is still low enough where I'm definitely interested in tournaments.
We have him projected for 26% ownership on FanDuel. That seems way too high.
Yeah, that's especially on a slate as big as FanDuel.
Yeah, so that is not a direction that I am looking to go. But something to keep in mind. I'll have him at half of that 26% number by the time we get there. The guy that's standing out the most to me, and I don't really know what to do with him, DeMarre Carroll is 4,800 on FanDuel, 4,900 on DraftKings, and $15 on Yahoo. He continues to play big minutes. It doesn't seem to matter that Rondae Hollis-Jefferson is back. He seems to be somehow like eating into Ed Davis or Jared Allen or everyone. I don't know. What do you want to do with DeMarre Carroll?
At 4,900 on DraftKings, I don't think I'll get that much. It's just the price tag where I don't think he's that likely to really pay it off in tournaments. I think that, he more likely than not gives you like a 25-point game or something like that where it's fine, but it doesn't really do anything for you. I think that I can just get more upside for less money. Not to mention, like, I would rather, just even from this team, I'd rather have Russell, Allen, Dinwiddie. So I don't think I'll end up with much DeMarre Carroll.
Okay. I look at him and I look at Torian Prince, and they shouldn't be comparable people when these guys are getting their full run. But the way that it looks right now, if Prince does get 25 plus ownership and DeMarre Carroll is at like 10, that's one of the first spots that I want to take like 2 or 3% from Prince and like drip it onto Carroll and other guys around that spot.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
That's where I'm at for the Brooklyn side.
So I was going to mention it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. On DraftKings, he's only a center now. Losing that power forward eligibility makes him a lot less palatable. Yeah. But the Kings are a big enough team where it wouldn't be surprising at all to see 48 minutes between Allen and Davis. And if you don't have Allen, you're in your lineup, you're hoping he's on the low end of his minutes range, which would naturally put Davis on the high end of his. And it's the type of matchup where Ed Davis should do really well too. Like, he's such a good offensive rebounder that you could see a pretty quick, 10 and 10 line or something from Davis.
Yeah. I have him in for 16 minutes right now because I don't know what to do with him. But if you're trying to go low on Jared Allen, don't be afraid to give yourself a share or two of Ed Davis just because those things run hand in hand.
Don't play them together.
Do not play them together. Sacramento, I thought that I would like a lot more here. They're kind of all over the map. $8K for De'Aaron Fox on FanDuel, $78 on DraftKings, $30 on Yahoo. I think is just fine. It's hard for me to really prioritize it. He's my 7th favorite point guard on FanDuel, so I can see having him in a 150. I'd probably have 2 or 3 lineups with him in a 20 max if FanDuel did anything other than 150 or single entry garbage. Otherwise, I don't find Fox that appealing.
Yeah, I mean, he played 35 minutes last game, which was really nice to see, but you can't completely ignore the fact that his minutes had been down lately. Yogi Ferrell didn't play at all in the second half there, so that's certainly a nice sign. Hopefully, we're going to get back to the Kings playing guys that deserve to be on the floor. And if that's the case, you'll have Fox at a nice price tag. So I'm going to go ahead and project him for 34 minutes here, which gets him to be a reasonably good play for me. But there is still that risk there. And beyond that, though, you just have this Kings team that's now back to being, essentially fully healthy. And you have guys that are still priced up, and now they're playing fewer minutes. Cauley Stein in a phenomenal spot here. I don't have any issue with Cauley Stein. It's just that you're probably getting 28 minutes, maybe 30. Now that they're giving Harry Giles 18 minutes a game, and they're all coming at the expense of Cauley Stein. You have Bagley back, which makes Bielitsa essentially non-existent. Bogdanovich is not playing as many minutes because you still have Justin Jackson playing. So it's kind of, and you have Shumpert back. So it's kind of just a bunch of stuff that I'm not super excited about.
Agreed. Couple things that we need to point out, though. Buddy Hield is 5,900 on FanDuel and 7,100 on DraftKings. Not entirely sure how something like that happens, but
38 minutes last game for him too.
Yeah, including the dagger to win the game.
Yep. Yeah, he played so well.
So Buddy Hield at 5,900 is getting 19% expected ownership. I get it. He is 6th for me at shooting guard on FanDuel. He's very comparable to Evan Fournier. Keep an eye on both of their ownership. Go with the lower guy, in my opinion. But I definitely want to have some Buddy Hield. That's just too cheap of a price tag.
Yeah.
And then, you can talk me into Harry Giles on FanDuel, 3,600. But he's getting 28% expected ownership. And at that point in time, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good FanDuel play. It's obviously a nice matchup against Brooklyn. He's going to get like 18 minutes. It's just that, at that ownership, you're essentially – it's putting you on a very similar roster construction to a large percentage of the field is the problem. Yeah. Because if he's that highly owned, it just means that a lot of people are – punting or are using power forward as their potential drop.
Yeah.
And so you're going to end up paying up at similar spots, obviously paying down for Harry Giles at power forward.
One, I would probably rather have James Johnson than Harry Giles. James Johnson, $200 or $100 more expensive.
I'd rather have Harry Giles.
Don't get me started on the Heat. But let's just say, for example, if James Johnson's 1% and Harry Giles is 28, I'll go to James Johnson. Yeah. But what Adam just said is the key takeaway there. If you see Harry Giles at 20-something%, that is probably the time where you want to go a different direction in your construction so that you have a different looking lineup than everyone else.
Yep.
That's all that I really needed to point out there. That 28% was standing out like a sore thumb. So, ready to keep going?
Yeah.
Random question, Josh. How do you check projected ownership on FanDuel? Is that something I can do for free? Is there something I'm missing? I don't ever see ownership until that game starts. Yeah, FanDuel's not going to give that to you, but you can get that at awesomeo.com with a membership. And if you use the promo code NBA Strategy, you can get 50% off your first month. Boom.
And to clarify, it's our projected ownership, not like...
Yeah, it's not inside info.
It's not us having some kind of information that you don't have.
Yeah, no. It is our best estimate. And if you ask me, clearly I have a biased output here, but it's the best estimate that is available in this industry. I love our ownership projections.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things. Like coming for me, like coming over to the site, it's been one of the biggest benefits that I've gotten just using it.
Agreed. Alrighty, the Memphis Grizzlies hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. Ooh, here we go. Grizzlies 110 implied total. Pelicans 106.5. So 3.5 point underdogs in Memphis due to the lack of Anthony Davis, who's got a boo-boo. A boo-boo that you don't have to worry about costing you anything as you move into this slate. This game does not exist on DK at a showdown stuff, so I think this is more of a FanDuel talk. We'll start on the Grizzlies side. A little bit of a pace up spot. I actually haven't looked to see how Anthony Davis on or off affects the pace of the game. So I'll pull that up as I throw to you here. How would you like to manage Mike Conley and Marc Gasol? 7,800 on FanDuel, 7,400 on DraftKings.
I like both price tags. The issue with Gasol, obviously, is that there's a lot of cheaper centers that we like, and you have Vooch. And Gasol's just not normally, especially now where he's clearly dinged up, but he's not normally the type of guy that gives you a huge score in tournaments. So I think I would probably have a little trouble getting to him just because I'm going to value Vooch higher. I'm going to value those cheaper guys more. But on a point per dollar basis, I think it's perfectly fine. It's obviously a nice spot. And he still is, even playing through these injuries, he's still averaging a point per minute. So, it's a perfectly fine play. I prefer Conley, though. I really like the price tag there. He does have the tougher defensive matchup going against Elfrid Payton and Drew Holiday backcourt. That while the Pelicans as a team are not particularly good defensively, those two as on-ball defenders are fine, especially Drew. Very, very good. So, I like them. I don't know that either one would be a priority for me, but I would lean Conley over Gasol.
I have Conley as my number 2 point guard on the slate. I have Gasol as my number 4 center. 24% expected ownership on Conley, 19 on Gasol. So I think that I agree with where the field is.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with our boy?
6,100 is a nice price tag.
It is. He's 4th for me, a power forward. And it's especially more appealing knowing that we're projecting 23% ownership. So maybe
it's just so hard
cat's out of the bag. It is. I don't know what to do with him. I love the dude. I'll have him probably around that number. But, be prepared for 18 minutes.
Right.
I don't see anything else on Memphis as potentially appealing. I don't really care how many minutes Justin Holiday plays. I don't want him at 4,800.
Yeah, I'm good.
Alrighty. On the Pels side. So I looked it up. Anthony Davis on the floor this season. 103.5 is the pace. Anthony Davis off 107.2. So 4 more possessions. Not entirely sure how that will shake out. He plays so many minutes. They play so many minutes as starters that's basically a different team when he's not on the floor. But potentially could be even faster than they normally are. Julius Randle is $8,200 on FanDuel. He should soak up as many minutes as he possibly can at center. He grades out as my number 2 center, just slightly behind Vooch, but good God, this looks like a great spot for Julius Randle.
Yeah, and he's just so good. Overall, it's not. I don't care who he's playing. It's just get him minutes, and he's going to produce. He's really, really improved his game, and I love him here. The only thing that is unfortunate is that he's a center. So again, you have just a ton of guys in the position, but 8,200. I think he's a really, really, really good play.
And by the way, everybody, the people are freaking out about Gasol. He's probable. Don't sweat it. He's playing. You don't even have to pay attention to it.
That does mean that his ownership on FanDuel is going to be lower, though.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that. Any guesses what Julius Randle... Oh, fuck. We didn't even call him Big Burrito. Thanks, Brandon Vincent. Appreciate that. Yeah. So don't worry about Big Burrito. He'll eat. Any guesses as to what Julius Randle's ownership is on FanDuel?
12?
7.
That's nice.
Yeah, very, 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 very nice. We also have Gasol at 19. I feel like his will be slightly lower and Randle's will be slightly higher.
Gasol's will almost certainly be lower because of the fact that people are afraid he's not going to play.
Yeah. If I knew that Julius Randle was at 7% today, I would have a real scary amount.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was Vooch's projected ownership?
A lot higher than that.
Right. As much as I love Vooch, getting a $1,200 discount on Randle at probably lower ownership would be nice.
Oh, 10, not a lot higher.
Yeah, okay, then yeah, play both.
Let me look at this so I can see what the real chalk is here. Oh, okay. We're missing the chalk center so far at 47% ownership. Boogie Cousins.
20 minutes at 47% ownership. Why not?
We'll get there. So anyway, love Julius Randle. 9K Drew Holiday, 22% expected ownership. Holiday is my number 2 shooting guard. I am very much in for some Drew Holiday without AD.
Yeah, I mean, obviously more usage available for him. The argument against Drew would be that he's the most expensive out of the Pelicans guys, and unless you intend on rostering the entire team, you end up having to kind of prioritize him behind his teammates.
What do you want to do with Mirotic at 6,100?
Roster a lot of him.
Okay, join the club and join the apparently very public club. Nico is at 37% expected ownership on FanDuel tonight.
I don't know that that's even a spot because he's a small forward and he's 6,100. I don't know that that's even a spot that you need to be different. Like,
I agree.
If I had to choose between being like double the field or half the field, given his position and price, I would just choose double.
There are 3 small forwards on this slate that I think are even functionally relevant. Nico, Brandon Ingram, Kevin Durant. The rest of these not on the main slate.
Oh, right. Yeah, gotcha.
So, like, that's why I don't really need to be like, I wonder how Torian Prince is going to do.
Right.
We got Mirotic at 6,100. I agree with the public at 37%. He's number 1 with a bullet for me at small forward, and he should be. Elfrid Payton is the weird one for me. 5,500 on FanDuel, 22% expected ownership. He grades out as my 8th point guard. I don't want 22% Elfrid Payton. He's been really bad. Look, it's limited minutes for sure. He has not been great with AD off.
Yeah, and my biggest concern with him, and I'm trying to find their last game, but we haven't seen him closing. You know, it could, I guess Davis being out could benefit him in that way. But we had seen them closing with like Darius Miller over him, which isn't great. You know, so I don't think that Davis being off should benefit Peyton much in terms of any rates. Like, he's still not a high usage guy. He can't shoot. He's still playing with Julius Randle, Nico, and Drew Holiday. You know, maybe he gets a slight uptick in assists because he has the ball a little bit more. I think if there's going to be a benefit for Peyton, it would be that it's easier to get him into the closing lineup now that you're missing Davis. Like, they were already closing with Nico. They're already closing with Randle, Holiday more. Now, you know, you're not going to have Anthony Davis out there. You're probably not going to have like Jahlil Okafor out there. So it maybe gets him a couple more minutes. But I think if he's popular, he certainly does not have to be a place you go to.
I agree. I can't imagine wanting to have 22% if that's where the field is. That seems like a really easy fade.
Right. Like, the price tag's cheap, but It's just it's kind of the same thing I said about Drew, where, you know, the thing about getting to Drew is that unless you're rostering all 3 of him, Nico and Randle, you know, he's third in line there. But it's even more so for Peyton because he gets the smallest bump out of that entire group.
Right. That's it for me on this one.
And I just looked at Randall's numbers alongside Holiday with Davis off this year, and they are even better than I realized. Averaging 50.5 DraftKings points per 36 minutes in 350 minutes.
Yeah, and he's going to play. I have him in for 35. That can be low.
You said 35 for Randall?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have him at 38.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I love him at 35. I'm over the field at 35. Like, I don't have to go much further than that. I gave him 35. I gave Jahlil at 13.
Yeah, so I think I have Jahlil. Jalil's like 16.
Yeah. So you would see them playing together at some point?
Probably.
Okay. I can't imagine why they would need to do that now.
I don't know if they need to. I just think they could.
They should be able to keep them from having to play Mirotic at the 4 or at the 3 in any scenario.
I just don't know that they're that opposed to it. Like, they did it against the Warriors.
That's true.
I don't know that they care.
That's a good point. I shouldn't think about things the way that it should be done.
Right. Right, yeah, that's you absolutely can take, and this obviously isn't a huge point for DFS, doesn't matter. But you obviously can take minutes away from Okafor if you want to set the rotations how you want to do it. I just don't know that Alvin Gentry is doing it that way.
Right. All right, let's move on. We've got 4 games remaining. The Boston Celtics hosting the Miami Heat. I wish this game would get wiped off the map. 111.75 implied total for the Celtics, 104.25 for the Heat. So 7.5 point favorites for Boston. $9,700 Kyrie Irving looks fine. $6,300 Jason Tatum looks fine. I don't really want anything else from Boston. I hate this damn team.
Yeah, it's like, can we just skip this game?
Kyrie's my third point guard. I just want to get that out. Kyrie's my third point guard. Jason Tatum is my 5th power forward. No one else is going to rank anywhere near anything good.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, this game matters because there's a 4-game DraftKings slate.
Yeah.
I really wish this game was not on it and the New Orleans game was. But, yeah, so, I mean, Kyrie obviously is fine. It's Kyrie. He's playing really well. Price tag's going up, though, so that's a little bit of an issue. But, yeah, whatever Kyrie you get. I mean, it's even on the 4-gamer on DraftKings, though. You're talking about $9,000 Kyrie on a slate where Steph Curry is playing the Lakers, where James Harden is on the slate, where, you know, Donovan Mitchell's point guard eligible for less. You know, Dame is less. I have Kyrie as a really good play, but I still just don't know how much of him I'll get when you have a really, really loaded position on DraftKings.
I just realized I'm missing this game from my DK stuff. So I want to make sure that I get this updated while we're on, just so.
I don't think that's a bad place to be.
I agree. I have the 8 o'clock game in here either. It was so hard to like piece together all the damn like games and shit to make sure that I have my sheet set up correctly. But it looks like I'm missing the 10:30 or missing the 6 and the 8. I have the 10:30 and the 9:30. 10 or 10:09. Yeah, there we go. Let me get that in there for everybody. I'd imagine people want to look at that kind of crap. And it's not in my projections as of right now. Add that in. Good. Close. Don't save. No. Minimize. I'll be there in 1 second, everybody. Gotta prioritize the paying subs. They need their projections. I don't know why no one has told me this yet. I guess probably because not a lot of people give a single shit about the 6 o'clock DraftKings start as of right now.
Right. Yeah, you would have been like getting blown up at like 5:30.
Yeah. All right. So I'm good now. Again, I can't imagine wanting to really have anything for Boston. Marcus Smart for $4,300 on DK seems like a viable punt. Otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah, so I guess, do we have to watch for news to see if he gets suspended?
I don't know, do we?
For trying to murder DeAndre Bembry?
I didn't see it.
Oh yeah, he was thrown out of the game, but it was
I knew that he got the gate.
Yeah, he basically got a second technical for like talking shit to DeAndre Bembry. And then as he was being escorted off the floor, he was kind of yelling back over his shoulder. And I don't know what Bembry said, but Smart just ducked whoever was walking him off the floor and just like charged Bembry. He didn't get to him, but I don't know. I guess keep an eye on that. I don't know how quickly the NBA moves on stuff like that.
Probably not quick enough.
Yeah. From memory, it feels like we always get like one game with it hanging over them, and then they get suspended.
Okay. Alrighty. Is there anybody from the Heat you want?
No.
I have nobody. We have 10% ownership on FanDuel to Richardson and Bam. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to project these guys.
Winslow and Richardson are both fine to me.
Yes. And they're also not appealing. Like, they are fine in that they should be the safest guys to play.
They're fine in that I would, again, I haven't made lineups obviously for this, but I would assume my 2 highest owned guys on Miami are Richardson and Winslow. I would also assume, hope, and pray that that's not at very high exposure.
I completely agree. I can't with this team anymore, man. I have James Johnson in for 24 minutes. I think he's a fantastic punt play on FanDuel if that happens. He could also play 10. But like at 3,700, at the very least, he's not going to torpedo you.
Right.
That's why I prefer to punt with James Johnson than Harry Giles given the opportunity. But, I mean, good luck.
Right. Yeah, no, I like that call. The only two guys on this team that really you can feel confident in their minutes are Richardson and Winslow.
I feel confident that Hassan Whiteside's minutes and Bam Adebayo's minutes will be essentially 48.
Feel confident in that as well.
That's my only other confidence piece. I have them both at 24 right now.
So do I. So I guess it is worth pointing out when you look at the DraftKings pricing on that 4-game slate. So the 4-game slate, obviously, you don't have all those other good centers that we talked about.
Yeah.
Whiteside is $6K and Bam is $4,200. If you project them both for 24 minutes, they grade out as pretty mediocre. But there's certainly the chance, a pretty good chance, that one of them plays like 26 or 28, and the other one plays the other end of that.
Yeah.
And either of those guys get to 28 minutes, they become really good plays.
Yep.
So I don't mind when you're creating tournament lineups on this, 4-game slate on DraftKings, kind of over projecting both and then just making sure that, you cap your exposures and stuff.
100%. And don't have them together.
Right. But it's kind of like the only way that you end up getting screwed there is if they really do both play 24 minutes.
Yep, exactly.
And even then you have outs because they are both productive permanent players.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything you just said. I don't know what to do with Waiters. I don't know what to do with Derek Jones or Magruder or Kelly Olynyk. Just don't play this game.
I'm just looking at the rotation from the last game, and you would have thought it was like a 40-point blowout, but no. Just Derek Jones playing the last 14 minutes of the game after playing like 4 first half minutes.
I can't anymore. I might just uncheck the Heat when I run a crunch. I'd rather lose. I'd rather lose because of it. I don't feel like I'm going to win because of it.
Right. Yeah, it's impossible. Like you can't. I don't like Spoelstra doesn't know going into the game what he's going to do. It's completely game flow, matchup dependent. Who's playing well, who's not, who's being an idiot like Deion Waiters normally is. I mean, Waiters played well last game.
Yeah, he should. I don't know what to do with him. Get a couple of these guys out of here. We keep saying it.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, but the Heat are just like the most frustrating DFS team just because they have obviously right now with the way the rotation's going, but when guys are injured, they just become chalk. So it's not like there's a huge edge to them then because everyone knows who's going to play a bunch of minutes. And then when they all come back, it just becomes a nightmare where nobody's useful.
Exactly. Let's get out of here. All right. You want to talk about a lot of hypotheticals?
Sure. Not
Philadelphia
really,
76ers hosting the Houston Rockets. Sixers 119.5 implied total. Rockets 114.5. Joel Embiid is questionable. Jimmy Butler is questionable. And just so that we can make this even more complicated for everyone, where'd it go? I want to make sure I have this. No, I know I saw this. Where is it? On the main slate for DraftKings, so on the 6 o'clock slate, the chalkiest player at 3K, who I don't even know if he's playing or on the roster officially yet, is Kenneth Faried. I don't even have him in. I didn't even know that he went through waivers officially. I have not seen anything that says that Kenneth Faried is playing tonight. If he does play at the minimum salary on DraftKings, he is a viable punt. I probably wouldn't want him if he's 60-something% owned.
I'd probably play him in every single lineup.
Really?
At 3K?
Yeah.
When his competition for minutes is Gary Clark?
I guess, yeah.
And he's a power forward and not a center.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying it's a bad play by any means. If you know that Kenneth Faried is playing 20 minutes, you're not going to find much better value options. just a caveat here. I don't have him in. Would you have been projecting him in? Did you?
I mean, yeah, I have him in, but I have no idea if he's actually there yet.
He's not even on the roster on Roto World right now. Or at least he wasn't as of this morning. He's still not there. He is also not listed on the Nets. Let's search for him independently. Faried will be officially waived on Saturday and will be cleared to join. Oh my God. Okay. So this is per Woj. He will be cleared to join Houston on Monday. Woj adds that Faried is expected to move into the Rockets lineup with significant minutes immediately.
All right.
Let's go ahead and put him in.
Yeah, so Faried is, for me, probably going to be in like every single DraftKings lineup I make.
Added. All right, I can put him over here. Kenneth Faried. Need to delete him from Brooklyn, so Faried becomes Josh Engelman for right now. Okay. How many minutes do you expect Kenneth Faried to play for the Rockets tonight?
26.
Jesus Christ. This fucking
That's just
team.
kind of what I'm throwing out there, but
This team, man.
I'm really excited about this addition, though.
I love Faried, man. I feel like he's been a guy trying to be traded off of that contract for 15 years. I feel like he was trying to be traded off of the Nuggets in like 2004.
Right. Before he was even drafted.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Okay, so I'll give Gary Clark a haircut. I'll assume that James Nunley stops playing.
You can take Chris out if you have him in.
I don't know where else to take minutes.
I mean, I would take a lot of minutes from Gary Clark. I don't know what you had him at.
10.
You might be able to go lower.
I don't really see an option to go anywhere else.
What do you have Nene at?
15.
Okay, that seems right.
I'll just go through it. Austin Rivers at 39. Eric Gordon at 32. Gary Clark at 10. Gerald Green at 25. James Ennis at 22. Harden at 38. Nene at 15. PJ Tucker at 38.
And what's that give you for Faried?
I put Faried in for 26, which puts me 5 high.
You can probably take maybe like 2 off of Tucker. Probably a couple off of Ennis.
Ennis played 27 minutes in the last game.
Yeah, but they didn't have a center.
Right, but we're already taking the minutes away from James Nunley. We're already hemorrhaging Gary Clark. Ennis is a 3.
Well, yeah, but Tucker and Clark were playing the 5.
Okay.
So now you're sliding almost all of Tucker's minutes to the 4, which slides Gerald Green to the 3.
Okay. I mean, I would want to play James Ennis more than I would want to play Gerald Green, but again, we're talking about me and not the team. So, okay, I've got him in for 26.
Prior to the last game, the most minutes James Ennis had played since coming back from injury was 20. Like, I just haven't gotten the impression that D'Antoni has any interest in actually playing James Ennis unless the other option is James Nunley.
That's good. I agree with you. All right, so I've got him in for 26 minutes now. We'll start on the Philly side. Embiid and Butler both questionable. What do you want to do with the trio for Philly, assuming everyone is in?
Roster a lot of Joel Embiid, like a lot. Faried coming to Houston doesn't do a whole lot to make me like fear this front court as far as taking guys against them. You know, it just gives us a very productive fantasy play. But I would still just absolutely love Embiid here. I would really like looking at the DraftKings pricing, I'd love all 3 of these guys. But I would, priority-wise, I'd go Embiid and then Simmons and then Butler.
Okay. Chat's freaking out about Faried. Look, we have plenty of time. This is just how it has to happen for right now. It doesn't matter that they don't have the roster spot right now. The goal was to trade Carmelo Anthony to create that roster spot. If they do not do that, all they have to do is cut James Nunley from his 10-day. Creating the roster spot is not a barrier right now. They're just trying to do it more efficiently for themselves, but they have the out in Nunley's 10-day. That much I know. I didn't know that this was all going to happen for today. I didn't think that he could start till Tuesday. That's why I didn't have him in. But he can. All of this can be ready for today, particularly for an 8:00 start. I agree with you on Embiid. 11K on FanDuel, 10-1 on DK, 51 on Yahoo. That is highly, highly appealing. The problem is there's a billion centers.
Yeah. He's another one, though. I mean, we talked about it with Gasol, but it's the case here. Take advantage of that Q tag in tournaments. Obviously not saying it's a lock that he's going to play, but I mean, even taking their last game as an example, he was on the 2-game DraftKings slate, and he was 23% owned because he was questionable in the first game of the day. Like, people just didn't get him into their lineups when he was ruled in, 10 minutes before lock.
We're projecting him for 5% ownership on FanDuel. If him and Randall and Vooch are all at 10 or lower, I'd be happy giving 33% to all three of those dudes and not even paying attention to the rest of it.
Right, and you're just hoping that they beat the chalk value guys by like 30 raw points.
Yeah, like fuck off on Zubats or whatever other moron we want to rotate in here. Demarcus Cousins for 5,100. Give me a break. Just no. I've Cousins 12th. I'd rather soak it all up in Embiid, Vooch, and Randall. I'm going to be right on one of those guys for sure.
Right. Yeah, the only risk you're taking is that Zaza goes 20 and 15 against the Wizards, or he's not even on the slate.
Nope.
Right.
Yeah, it's half of the exposure to the centers are going to Boogie.
Yeah, that.
I'd rather have 0 and give all of that to these better dudes. I wouldn't even think twice. Jimmy Butler's a pretty tough sell for me. 8,300 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DraftKings looks pretty nice. 34 on Yahoo also looks pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, really like the DraftKings price.
Yeah. Same for Simmons on DK for 86. I'm in there. FanDuel, it's Ben Simmons for 24% ownership on FanDuel. A lot of that is being driven by the Q tag on Embiid and Butler, so I hope they stick around for a while as well.
Right. Yeah, and obviously if Embiid sits, Butler and Simmons become phenomenal plays. If Butler sits, Simmons and Embiid become better plays.
Yeah. The problem here is that there's a real decent chance, or I mean, we will probably not have this news for FanDuel.
Yeah, really no question. Because Embiid game time decision means Embiid's going to go warm up and then stretch out and then decide if he's going to play at 7:50.
Yeah, his game time decisions are a very literal statement.
Granted, his game time decision normally means he's playing.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
When he's actually injured, they'll just rule him out. And when he's given the opportunity of, hey, how do you feel? Do you want to play tonight? He says yes.
Right. On that case, just because of the way this is shaking out, it's making me love Vooch and Randall even more, the way this slate is set up on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Do you want anybody else from Philly?
I mean, I'm fine with pieces of JJ Redick and stuff, but the big three are obviously the priority.
Same. Houston, James Harden, 14,000 on FanDuel, 13.2 on DraftKings, $62 on Yahoo. So the $60 ceiling that I thought existed does not exist. That said, I want all of the James Harden still. Thank you very much. No issue playing him anywhere.
Nope. Yes, I know that he would have disappointed last game had it not gone to overtime. No, I do not care.
Yeah,
he's still going to project for mid-70s, and in the case of DraftKings, it's on a 4-game slate. So,
yep. And there's a pace-up spot for Houston.
Yeah,
I want him. Fareed being there helps in that Fareed is an NBA body. He is good and does not take anything away from James Harden.
Right. The points Fareed gets are going to be off of offensive rebounds and James Harden lobs.
Yep. 100%.
Philly struggled with ball-dominant guards this year. Does Harden fit that description?
He tends to have the ball from time to time. Imagine looking at this and not liking Harden, but thinking yo, man, Kemba Walker really put it on Philly earlier. Likes to have the ball.
D'Angelo Russell's just absolutely torn them to shreds.
Yeah. This could be really insane. And if Jimmy Butler happens to be the one that sits here, good God.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it matters all that much for Embiid for Harden. But if Butler's out and they just don't have, that wing, that perimeter defender as well, that gets scurry.
Yeah. I mean, Embiid would matter, obviously, in terms of rim protection, just making the overall defense worse.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, clearly it matters if Joel Embiid is not on the floor. I love it. I love it so much. Give me all of the Harden. He's my number one shooting guard on FanDuel by an absolute mile. He's my number one player on FanDuel by an absolute mile. The gap between Harden and the next closest shooting guard for me is quite large. 22% expected ownership on FanDuel for a guy that is absolutely playing tonight. I want to be over that number, and I have to take no risk. I like him more than that 22% number, and there's no risk in it. I mean, there's risk in it, but there's no non-playing risk in it.
Right.
Yeah. Harden, Simmons, Embiid, same lineup. Is it possible? Why would you want to do that?
Why not?
On FanDuel?
I mean, it would still be a pretty nice stack, but
I mean, that's $35,000. A lot.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the answer is probably that the rest of your lineup sucks. If it didn't suck, though, that would be awesome.
Well, yeah. Can't get that analysis anywhere else, folks. The rest of your lineup's good. That lineup looks good.
Playing really good players is really good if you can also fit other good players.
Yeah, there's not enough other guys to fit that in my opinion. Houston side. We already talked about Harden. We've already gone over our thoughts on Kenneth Faried if he is available for DK. Nobody needs to freak out about this. We don't need to know this shit for a while. And he's not even on the player pool of FanDuel and Yahoo. This is literally a one-site decision, and that decision doesn't need to be made until 6 p.m. tonight. So just hang out on that one. Do you want any other part of Houston? Because everybody else looks garbagey.
Yeah, not with any sort of frequency.
Okay, cool. 2 games left. We're getting there. Hour and 42 minutes in. But there's no real way around it today.
Yeah.
The Utah Jazz hosting the Portland Trailblazers. Everybody hit that like button, by the way. I haven't begged for that yet. We got a lot of people here. Let me see. How many do we have right now? 667. Shout out to MLK for this one. 110.25 implied total for the Jazz, 105.25 for the Blazers. Oh yeah. Really excited for this one at 9 p.m. after everything that's going to happen today. Ricky Rubio questionable, as if we didn't need enough wrinkles on this slate. You think he plays?
I have no idea.
I agree. If he does play, I've got him in for 25 minutes. And I don't know what to do with that information.
Well, I mean, it makes Donovan Mitchell less appealing.
It does make Well, yeah, it does. Still appealing, but not hyper appealing.
Right.
Rudy Gobert. Go ahead.
I think Rubio plays. He practiced in full yesterday.
Okay. Do you think he plays in full?
Let's see. He missed time earlier this year, I think, right?
I mean, he usually does. Now that Grayson Allen is healthy, I feel like they give Rubio one less normal rotation for this particular game and let Grayson Allen soak it up.
Yeah, like a 26-minute.
Yeah. You give him a little bit of a respite in that first and second quarter spot, and then if the game is close, he can be out there.
Yeah. Why do I remember him missing time this year, but I can't find it? Oh, well, whatever. If he did, it was like a game.
Yeah. Rudy Gobert is 10-6 on FanDuel, 8,500 on DraftKings, and $40 on Yahoo. How would you like to manage Rudy Gobert?
I love that DraftKings price tag. FanDuel, I don't really see getting there over Embiid and Vooch and everyone else. But I mean, Gobert is just playing out of his mind. I don't think Rubio has a big impact on that. He's not making a big dent in Gobert's rebounding numbers. He's getting the maybe a little bit of a dent in his assists, but not really. They were there even when Rubio was in, and Rubio should at least make Gobert. He should get the ball to Gobert more. So I just think Gobert is an absolute monster, and 8,500 is really, really cheap, especially on a slate with 4 games.
Yep, I completely agree. He looks really good on DK. $40 on Yahoo, also very appealing. You got to be some sort of psychopath to pay that 10-6 price tag today on FanDuel. 8,300 for Mitchell on FanDuel, 82 on DK, 37 on Yahoo. Whether or not Ricky Rubio is in, I think that's fine. It's not appealing just because of what we know of him and Rubio being on the floor together, but it's not some sort of like immediate stop for me. 15% ownership on FanDuel feels a tad high, but he's very hard to prioritize now. And if you're playing on FanDuel, I'd rather have James Harden, and then I'm just probably naturally not going to be getting to $8,300 Donovan Mitchell any longer.
Right. And on DraftKings, the issue that I have is, so if we assume that most of our lineups have Harden, have the Harden for Reed combo, it's going to basically let you probably get like one other guy in that, 8K range, and then you'd have to fill it out with, like your 4,500, 5,500 guys. I would rather have Gobert than Mitchell.
Oh, completely. Absolutely. I'm with you, Derek. I don't have any interest in anything else that is from the Jazz.
No.
I don't have any interest in really anything from Portland. 9K for Nurkic on FanDuel, 79 on DraftKings, 33 on Yahoo is okay. 9K Lillard and 8,300 on DK is okay. Nobody's standing out here for me, though.
No, me neither. It's not. Yeah, I think the price tag on Nurk is fine, but I would just so much rather have Gobert. I think the price tag on Lillard is fine. He's probably who I would get to the most from Portland. But then you're still talking about he plays the same position, as James Harden. He plays the same position as $8,500 Ben Simmons. We haven't even gotten to the Golden State game, so nothing that I'm prioritizing here.
Yeah. I just can't imagine paying 9K for Nurkic when you can pay 94 for Vooch or 8,200 for Randall or 7,400 for Marc Gasol.
Yeah.
It's just a tough sell. Game is not that appealing. Let's close it out. The Los Angeles Lakers hosting the Golden State Warriors. 111.5 implied total for the Lakers, 122.5 for the Warriors. Things are not going well in LA. Lonzo Ball out for a while. So, this should be fun. Alex Caruso, I assume, gets some minutes. That's not relevant, at least not to me. We're going to start at Kuzma. 7,500 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DraftKings, $31 on Yahoo. Kuzma and Ingram are the guys that I want the most, at least on FanDuel. How do you want to manage Kuz?
I like him. The minutes are there. Obviously, should play 36 to 38 minutes. Should get all the usage in the world. I guess only the slight concern would be that they don't have a point guard now. Lonzo, as much as everyone wants to give him shit because he can't shoot, he does. He's an excellent passer. He gets guys in good situations. We saw last year, I think it was Ingram, but we saw Ingram have huge splits with and without Lonzo, just because Lonzo really does open up the offense. So that would be a concern, but I still think that the price tag is appealing, especially when you factor in the usage that Kuzma should have and the minutes he should play.
Yeah, he looks good to me. There's just so much playing time to go around. He's my number 2 power forward. Power forward is super thin on FanDuel for this main slate. He's actually the most expensive power forward at 7,500.
Yeah,
there's
and for whatever he's played 120 minutes this season without Rondo, LeBron, or Lonzo on the floor. He's averaged 1.25 fantasy points per minute, 26% usage, 19% assist percentage, 12% rebounding percentage.
There we go. Brandon Ingram, 6,700 on FanDuel, 69 on DK, and 24 on Yahoo. Again, I would like a lot of Brandon Ingram on FanDuel or Yahoo. Point Ingram.
Yeah. Not necessarily the most efficient or the best, but it still gives him upside.
We are getting minimum salary Lance Stevenson for 24% expected ownership. What do you think of Lance, Chalk? You playing the air guitar tonight?
Yeah, just eat it.
Yeah.
Walton hasn't been really looking for reasons to play Lance, but they need ball handlers now, and he obviously does still provide offensive value. He's still a good fantasy producer when he's out there. And, now it's basically to the point, do you want to give Alex Caruso a bunch of minutes handling the ball, or do you want to give them to Lance Stevenson?
Yeah, I gave 12 to Caruso, and I only have Stevenson in for 20. I don't know what to do, though. You have 26?
Yeah.
What do you have Caruso for?
Like 10.
So we're different somewhere else then. I'd like to walk through this just so we can be on the same page. I have Kuzma at 36, Brandon Ingram at 38.
Okay.
Josh Hart at 33.
Yep.
The centers will be interesting. But as long as our totals are the same, I don't really care who gets them. Zubac's at 21.
Yeah, same ballpark.
JaVale at 12.
And
then Tyson Chandler at 16.
Yeah, basically the same.
So 49 minutes to those three guys. I would assume that they soak up all of the center minutes and probably nothing else, but maybe some weird quirk where two of them are on the same minute, but regardless. KCP at 30.
Yeah, I mean, we're off by like a minute here and there.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Beasley at 10.
Beasley a little high, but I think 10 is probably where he should be.
Okay. I had Caruso at 12, and then the dude whose name I can't say at 12.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're on, like, everyone you named that we're within like a minute or two.
Okay, so I'll probably just give a little bit of haircut to Caruso since his minutes don't necessarily matter. I just had a hard time getting any more minutes to Lance. I was just running out of places to take them from. So
yeah, I mean, he played against Houston. He played 15 minutes to close the game, and then he played all 5 minutes in overtime after the Lonzo injury.
Yeah. I had no idea where to get him from. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
If I assumed that Caruso was going to get some time, which is basically the only spot where they can really come from. So Lance, obviously, solid chalk on FanDuel. Would you want him for 4K on DK?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I imagine a lot of my lineups on DK will start with Lance, Fareed, Harden.
Okay. Van Dam and C or whatever. I don't know how to say that. Rondo will play tonight. Book it.
What?
What are you guys talking about?
The guy that just had surgery on his hand and has been practicing using one hand?
Coach Luke Walton said he is hopeful that Rondo will be able to practice with the team on Sunday. Walton added that he does not anticipate Rondo being cleared to play on Monday. He had surgery on the 28th and was given a 4 to 5 week timetable. I mean, look, if anybody's going to do that, it's probably Rondo. Dude has played through some injuries before.
Pretty sure he's actually been trying to talk his way into playing with his left hand.
Yeah, no one doubts his toughness. I'd be shocked if he played today. Doesn't seem like the spot because they're probably going to get handled whether Rondo plays here or not.
I mean, I think Luke Walton probably wants to win this game.
There you go. I mean, yeah, I agree.
Coach narratives are real, man.
Yeah, he definitely wants to win. He's probably not going to.
Yeah.
So let's go to the Warriors. Pace up. We got Durant, Curry, Draymond, Clay. I really, really like Durant and Curry. I think 7,400 for Draymond on FanDuel looks pretty nice. 6,500 on DraftKings is fine as well. And Clay is continually just a guy that's never going to project well, but you'd like to have like 10% of if you're playing multiple lineups because he will never look like he projects well on a per minute basis. That's not what you're looking for at a Klay Thompson.
Yep.
Do you have a preference between Durant and Curry?
Durant, because he plays the worst position.
That'll work for me. The elephant in the room. 5,100 on FanDuel for Demarcus Cousins. 5,700 on DraftKings. $20 on Yahoo. I have Demarcus Cousins in for 1.3 fantasy points per minute. I have him in for 19 minutes. What do you think of 47% chalk Demarcus Cousins?
I just don't get the point. You know, he was productive against the Clippers, but they've said that they're capping him at 20 minutes. So I just don't want to play a guy that's almost 50% owned and that's going to play 20 minutes because, yeah, he probably will do well but the price tag, it's not like he's minimum priced or anything. And there's only so many minutes for him to produce in. So if he does have, if A, he fouls out in fewer minutes again, or, B just has an unproductive stretch while he's out there, you're just in a pretty shitty spot.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, we went over the stuff that matters for the first game.
Right.
And it played out, I think, exactly like we thought it would. He could have a really productive output, and it's not going to it's not really going to matter at all to a tournament winning lineup.
Right. If you were low owned, by all means, I would love taking that risk.
Yeah.
What's the edge? Like, how are you helping yourself win a tournament by playing him at that price point and that ownership?
What would he have to do?
Right. And so here's
40?
the other thing. Yeah, basically, he'd have to continue getting 2 points per minute.
Good luck with that.
And here's the thing, and I had mentioned it on the deeper dive with Lofty. So we obviously don't know how to project this version of Demarcus Cousins on a permanent basis.
Right.
We don't know how he's going to fit in this team. We don't know. We still, after one game, 15 minutes, we don't know what his rates are actually going to look like.
I know it's not going to be 2 per minute.
Right. So what I thought was actually really interesting is if you go back and look at last season, he played like 966 minutes with Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis on the floor. That's about as close as you're going to get to Golden State, where he's out there with other guys that demand the ball. Right. He averaged 1.36 fantasy points per minute, and that was prime DeMarcus Cousins being fully healthy with no Achilles issue. Right. So he played almost 1,000 minutes there, and he averaged 1.36 points per minute. Are we actually going to project this version of DeMarcus Cousins for more per minute productivity, playing most of his minutes with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry on the floor?
No, it's impossible to. Right. Antoine Murphy says, Cousins put up 30 in 15 minutes. Solid chance he gets to 35 to 40. Don't see why not taking that helps you fit others. This is why. The goal when you're making this lineup is not to put yourself in the ability... The goal when you put together a lineup is not to maximize your points. It's to maximize your opportunity of winning the tournament. They are not the same thing. And that's the part that probably trips people up the most. Because yes, fitting in DeMarcus Cousins to your lineup can create a higher projected lineup for you. That's why you end up seeing DeMarcus Cousins be 47% owned. The problem in this statement is that doesn't necessarily help you win a tournament. It probably limits your ability to win that tournament. Right.
So, and it doesn't just come down to DeMarcus Cousins. It comes down to your roster construction. It comes down to everything. If you take that $1 million tournament on FanDuel as an example, there's, 100,000 entries in it. If DeMarcus Cousins is 47% owned, that's 47,000 people that are playing DeMarcus Cousins. That's 47,000 lineups that have that same 5,100 or whatever he is center, that have the same amount of money to spend at all these other positions. You're now competing with 47,000 lineups where you have to get all of those other positions correct and be the best out of those 47,000 lineups. Or you can play a different center, hope DeMarcus Cousins gets like 30 raw points, which isn't very useful. Hope that your center scores, 55 or 60. You have a leg up on 47,000 lineups, and then you have different players among that other 53,000 lineups because the center you played isn't 53% owned. He's probably like 10% owned. So if you played Vooch and he's the highest scoring center, you're competing with 10,000 people. If you played Embiid and he's in 5,000 lineups, you're competing with 5,000 people. It just gives you a much better chance of winning the tournament. Yeah. Because even if you play Cousins and he scores 100 points, you're still competing with 47,000 lineups that have 100 points from DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah. Perfect. It makes no sense to me.
Like if Cousins scored 100 points and you didn't play him, you're not winning. You're not cashing. You're done for the day. But your goal in playing these tournaments is not to like sneak into the min cash.
Exactly. That's great for you. But now you have to beat those other 53,000 lineups. It's right. Insanity.
Like if you, by playing Cousins, essentially what you're most like, and Cousins has a big game, you're looking at one of those days where, especially with top heavy tournaments now, you're looking at one of those days where you like 2x your buy-in or 2.5x, unless you just get really lucky and happen to have the nuts out of 47,000 lineups. Yep. But by not playing him, you give yourself a better chance at having one of those really big days that as a tournament player, you have to have a profitable year.
If you're playing DeMarcus Cousins, how many people are playing James Harden with that combination too?
Right, and
They're
that's the
probably
thing.
highly correlated together.
Right, you just end up on the same guys, and you end up essentially among 47,000 lineups having to hit your, like, 1v1 or 2v2 of, like, shit play A versus shit play B
Yeah.
versus shit play C, you're basically just because you end up on all the same roster construction and everything else, you're essentially just throwing yourself into, like, a 47,000 lineup, like, drawing to win some money.
That's the problem, guys. It has nothing to do with the fact that Demarcus Cousins can project as a value play on paper. It does not help you win a tournament if he is 47% owned. I'd like to think that I have a reasonable projection for Demarcus Cousins. We can quibble over the total. I have him in for 24.5 fantasy points. We can give him a couple extra if you're really excited about his fantasy points per minute. He finishes as a top 4 value center. I want to make sure I don't miss this. 4% of the time.
Right.
There's a wall there for you.
Right. And really you have to think about it on a per minute basis. You can look and, if I have Cousins at 27.5 projected points, it's like, oh man, Cousins can get more than that. Yeah, he can. But if he's capped at 20 minutes, that is projecting him for essentially the same per minute production that he was averaging last year with Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday. It's not a crazy low projection or anything like that.
No.
And then you factor in the ownership, and just when he's that highly owned, even if he has a big game, it just only helps you so much because he's not winning you with the tournament. You have to win it in other spots. It's just easier to win a tournament by going other directions there.
Yep. I'm with you.
And just a quick thing, because I know people talk about ownership a lot and don't completely get it. Like having someone at 47% ownership, it's completely dependent on the player if that's a good player or not. But one way to just really quickly determine if it's something that you want to eat or not is if it forces you onto a specific roster construction. And that's the case here with Cousins. It's because you only have the one center on FanDuel, and because he's a center, it just puts you in a position where all these people have the same exact money at these other positions where they can only allocate it so many different ways. So when you're forced on the one specific roster construction, you should be more willing to fade a highly owned player than if it's a player where you're like, okay, well, I can still, do a bunch of different things differently.
Yep. Craziness. Fade Boogie. 47's crazy. It'd be like 10. And the other piece that we talked about in this first game is that there's a very different distribution of his potential outcomes because there are no possibilities for him to get additional minutes. He is not going to suddenly play 30 minutes here. No matter what's happening, they are not running him out there for that. This game goes to OT or double OT. He's probably not going out there for any bit of that. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to do that, especially the Warriors.
Right. Like, can you imagine Steve Kerr getting Boogie injured in a January 21st game against the Lakers because he really wanted to win that game when this team is like the massive favorite versus the field to win the championship?
Right.
Like, even if Boogie doesn't play a single minute all regular season?
No, not at all. Kerr will tell him to sit down, and Boogie's just going to have to listen to it, and the entire team is going to be like, yo, sit down.
Right.
Like, it's just not happening. And when you don't have any sort of availability for additional minutes on a day-to-day basis, you have a very, very different ceiling. Like Cousins can play 22 to 24 minutes, no problem, is a quote in the chat. If you believe that,
Boogie can do what?
Can play 22 to 24 minutes, no problem.
The Warriors literally said he's not playing more than 20 minutes.
Right. I don't know how anyone can have an opinion on this. I agree. He could play 22 to 24 minutes.
I think he's in the physical shape to do it.
Yes. He won't. I'll happily be wrong there. I won't be wrong. But if he does, great. I see that as basically a 0% chance to happen.
And even if he plays 22 minutes, okay, cool. He got 30.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's his ceiling, but saying on a per minute, that's the projection.
Like think about it in terms of a Jared Allen, Ed Davis conversation. If Jared Allen gets in Jared Allen gets in like aggressive foul trouble, Ed Davis could play 30 minutes tonight. There's nothing stopping that from happening. And those are the opportunities that you're looking for. No matter how much foul trouble that Draymond Green gets in, or Kevon Looney, or Jordan Bell if he comes in and does it, you're still not getting that additional run from Demarcus Cousins. It's not even an option. So you have to draw a wall in his like distribution of outcomes.
Like Steve Kerr probably has like Luke Longley on like speed dial to come in and play in the event that like Boogie had to play more minutes.
Exactly. Okay, so let's end this. We have gone through 10 games across this entire monster MLK slate. We're at 2 hours and 5 minutes. But we have to hit a couple props. Drive Fantasy is the site, people. You go to bit.ly/Awesemo. You'll get $10 on your first $10 deposit. You'll get $20 on a $100 deposit. You'll get $50 on a $200 deposit. Let's look at some props. And we have some versus props, which I enjoy a little bit more for this one. We're going to cover the entire slate. That's the first one I like. Which one stands out the most? I don't like that one. Okay, this one's fun. D'Angelo Russell versus De'Aaron Fox. Points, rebounds, and assists. You get an additional half for Russell. But who do you think outscores who? It's also 95 points for Russell.
So it's points, rebounds, and assists, Russell versus De'Aaron Fox.
Yep.
I think D'Angelo.
I'm spelling De'Aaron Fox's name wrong. Stupid extra shit. Points, rebounds, and assists. Oh yeah, I forgot I can do this in one line. Damn, it's been so long. 0.5. You're taking D'Angelo?
I think so. I'll have an answer for you by the time you give yours.
I've got 33 total for D'Angelo Russell. I've got 27.5 for Fox. I think Russell is a clear favorite, even more so than the 95 points you only get for him. So pounding Russell here.
I have 33.5 for Russell, 30.2 for Fox.
There we go. Next one. Total points. Drew Holiday versus Mike Conley. You get 1.5 additional points for Drew Holiday. Even action on both sides. This one's tight.
Yeah, I'll say I don't have it in front of me yet, but I'm thinking that my answer is probably Drew.
It's a total pass for me. I get 23.1 for Drew Holiday, giving him that extra 1.5. I get 22.7 for Mike Conley. So I don't need to take a coin flip prop here.
Yeah, I mean, I have Conley by 2 points, but I also haven't bumped Drew for Davis being out yet. So,
yeah, here's a fun one. This is a really crazy one too. Brandon Ingram plus 1.5 rebounds, just rebounds. 110 points to take Ingram as well against DeMarcus Cousins.
So I have.
This is stupid.
Ingram with 5.7. I have Boogie with 7.1. So, I mean, I guess Ingram because of the points.
Yeah. So I have Ingram at 6.3 plus an extra 1.5. Gets me to 7.8. I've got Boogie at 7 flat. So I have Ingram by 0.8 of a rebound, along with 110 fantasy points, along with the fact that he can just keep playing if this game goes to overtime. Give me Brandon Ingram, and it's not even close. I'll let all you other clowns play DeMarcus Cousins. Did you see one? Anything that stands out to you?
KD versus Curry.
I thought that one was pretty interesting too.
Plus half a point for KD, 100 points either way. I have Curry.
It's half a point for Durant, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is tight. It's not as tight as I thought it was. I looked at the numbers wrong. It's half a point or a point and a half? Yeah, half a point. I have Durant at 29. I have Curry at 29.8. So give me Curry, but I won't be there for it.
I have Curry at like 31.8 and Durant at 28.
You want to do the one right above that to close it out?
Sure.
Yusuf Nurkic versus Rudy Gobert. Points, rebounds, and assists. Typing like a moron today. I need to take a break.
I have Nurkic 3.4. I have Gobert at
This is fantastic.
35.9. I think I had I have Nurkic projected a little low though. It's really close for me.
Probably not as close as it is for me.
You have a tied?
100 points on either side for this. You get 3.5 additional for Nurkic if you want to take Nurkic. I have Nurkic with those 3.5 projected at 34.3. I have Rudy Gobert projected at 34.3. So even action, even outcome. I'm going to have to go ahead and pass on this one. There it is, everybody. 5 props, Thrive Fantasy, bit.ly/Awesemo can get you there. NBA Strategy, the promo code for Awesemo. You can get 50% off your first month. 2 hours and 11 minutes in. We're going to have more content coming. Lofty will have another deep dive for the afternoon games. And then myself and Fast Eddie Fear will be live from 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock, leading you up into the FanDuel lock. Adam, you got anything else?
Nope. That's it for me.
We'll be around in Slack pretty much for all of this stuff. I assume you're going to be at least around for most of this day.
Yeah, not for the next hour, but
right. Crank it out. There it is, everybody. Best of luck today. Come to the Slack. Come join us. If you have any additional questions, we'll be around. And enjoy this MLK basketball slate. Adios, everybody.